Dear colleagues, good day. Kirill, thank you for introducing me. I represent CROC company. We are a system integrator, a very typical system integrator company. We design and implement systems. I'd like to thank organizers for inviting me, and I'd like to thank Anton Shipulin, who does a lot for developing our sector in Russia. So I will continue the topic started by the previous speaker, but I'll talk to you more as a representative from the point of view of STEC. So this new federal law, which was enacted on the 1st of January, it's been 10 months since then almost, and we see that a lot of customers, they have a lot of questions about that. On providing security of critical information infrastructure objects. So I'll try to tell you about some most topical issues which are almost discussed in social networks, during conferences and so on, and answer the questions which I often hear from customers, those things which are more urgent and pressing for our sector. Just a couple of slides with main information about the Federal Law 187. So this one is the main law. There are two adjacent laws, 193 on making changes to the national secret law and the changes to the criminal code of the Russian Federation, number 194. There are some additional documents, decrees 235 and decree 239, and some documents by Federal Security Service. Two of them have been officially adopted and registered by the Minister of Justice. Other documents have been submitted to the Justice Ministry, but will be signed and officially adopted later on. So who shall comply with this law? There are all the organizations in the sectors listed on the slide. Every company which has some information systems which function in all these areas on the slide. So all of them have to comply with the Federal Law 187. So what does this mean in layman terms? There are a lot of discussions about them. So, for example, STEC recently gave its opinion about it. So there are some possibly some misunderstanding about it. State bodies, state enterprises, and Russian legal entities or individual entrepreneurs who operate in the sectors which were listed before. Municipalities and municipal unitary enterprises, they are not subject of this law. There was a lot of debates about this, and according to the opinion of STEC, they are not subject of the law. So if you have some questions about it, you can work with the regional representatives of STEC, and they will give their clarifications. Why is that? The explanation is that they don't own the information system that they use in their operations. All these companies now have to comply with a lot of procedures. There are not so many specific milestones which could help to understand what to do now. But for sure, the first thing you need to do is creating the list of the critical objects. But right now, we do not have what is the deadline for this work. There was some deadline set before, but right now, there is no such official information. And officially, this deadline is considered to be the 20th of February. But STEC understands that these terms are not realistic. And according to the decision of the after the meeting of STEC, and after its minutes, which we know about, although this information is not disclosed officially. So according to this decision of STEC, the deadline for creating the list of critical infrastructure objects is the 1st of August. And the next deadline will be the 1st of December. This is a date when you need to finish all the training activities. Until the 1st of September 2019, you need to create all the information systems for critical information infrastructural objects. So what's this prioritizing, categorizing process? How does it look like? You need to make the list of all the processes in your company. Then you decide which ones of them are critical processes. Then you decide what are the information systems which work with these processes. And this information system are categorized. What's a critical process? A lot of people ask me about it. There was some opinions that this is a process which is critical for a company. For example, if it's a metallurgy company which produces some something made of metal, and then there are sales through an internet shop. So, for example, destruction. For example, the interruption of the work of the internet shop. It's a significant interruption of business, but on the national-wide state level, that's not critical. It's not going to harm anyone. It's not going to affect somehow major processes for the company. So critical processes when there are casualties, when there is the damage to environment, or for example, the company failed to assemble and sell a tank for the military operations. Another question people often ask about: what's the significant critical informational infrastructure object? So this black perimeter, that's all information systems. Then this blue circle, that's critical information infrastructure objects, and this red circle, that's objects which have significance for the company. We have a lot of misunderstanding here because there are different opinions between the companies themselves and STEC. So if you decide yourself that these information systems are critical, then you send information on them to Gossopka. Next stage. When you have this list of objects, you understand that you have critical objects, although you had some doubts in advance. Yes, according to the decision of Commission, officially there is a critical object. Then you need to send information about results of categorizing to this central unit. You can send additionally to the local regional unit because they will, of course, get this information later on. But the most important thing is to send this list to the central unit of Gossopka for their approval. If you decide that there are no critical informational infrastructure, for example, if you do not have any critical processes, then of course you don't have CII, or there are some processes, but they are not automated. It means there are no information systems which support them. In such a case, when there is nothing to prioritize, nothing to report about, then you still need to have an official commission, and you need to have an internal act where you state and explain that you do not have CIIs. For example, if the regulator wants to ask your questions about it, you have some document to confirm your opinion. This information is, you don't need to send this information to VSTEC, and I'll talk more about it on the next slide. On the 24th of August, VSTEC issued an important statement according to which now every company needs to send notifications to VSTEC. The list of systems. There was not very good clarification about that before, and this informational statement gives you the list of what have to be included into this informational into this notification. So they also clarified that there are no CIIs. You shouldn't send anything to VSTEC. After categorization, you need to understand and define where and in which format you are to send the information. You see this link of VSTEC. That's the website which shows the address which you write on your envelope, and you write a physical letter. So you have these results of categorization printed out on a paper, and you send it by mail to the address presented on this website. It should be express mail. VSTEC takes only one copy and sends you back another copy with its signature. Next stage. During categorization, you think that you need to create only 2 or 3 documents, not more. So, for example, the list of objects and results of categorization. But in reality, you need to have, or you may have more documents as a result. All of them are listed here. Plan of categorization action, so that's something you start with. Then you set up a commission. Then the most important document, that's methodology of analysis or methodology of categorization. So that's a document which help you to substantiate your decision if a regulator asks you questions. Next document. During categorization, you need to take into account possible threats, and you need to simulate threats. And as a result, you are to look for vulnerabilities. That's why you need to develop a model of threats or the model of possible adversaries. You also may prepare a declaration of industrial safety, passports, technical briefs. All these documents can help you in the process. As a result, you get the typical report on categorization, the list of critical information infrastructure objects, act of categorization, and the conclusions. And all these documents you put into the envelope. Another envelope goes on top of it. And all these documents are sent to VSTEC. Next question. Do we need to use obligatory non-certified means of protection for protecting significant critical information infrastructure objects? The answer is no, it's not mandatory. So, for example, if you use GOSOPCA, if you applied for to be included to GOSOPCA, then according to the law, it said you need to use certified protection means. But as for some other means of protection, you decide by yourself. If you go for certified means, then you see in the document what classes of this means should be used. You also look at the attachment 239 to the stack decree. You explain how you proceed according to the requirement, and then you describe the process for demonstrating compliance with these requirements in case the regulator wants to check you.
So thus you can meet the requirements of the decree and use non-certified protection tools. So it's better to use certified protection tools, because in that case vendor has already demonstrated that they comply with the requirements, and you don't need to repeat this procedure. The next question, so we have discussed it already, but I would like to comment on that further on. For instance, if you have like a personal data information system or a public data system, and it is an object of critical information infrastructure. So according to law 237, so there is a requirement 187 of bylaws, so it doesn't exempt you from the obligation to meet other requirements. So if it's a public information system, which is an important object of critical information infrastructure, so you need to agree to get agreement on your model and obtain for the certification if you have not done that. So I would like to go back. So regarding order 31, so it wasn't clear if it was obligatory or not obligatory, so the status remained. So if you have an important object of critical information infrastructure, and if it's part of SCADA, so you can apply this order if you deem it necessary. So regarding the public system, so on the 1st of September, FSTEC approved the list, so and the licensees for the public security can familiarize themselves with the list. So otherwise, FSTEC doesn't consider you as you have commander of the public state. So if FSTEC decides you are an important organization, and if you will be informed first informally, and then you will get an official notification. Then you will have to arrange a license for the public secret. Before that, you can be quiet. So FSB promised to issue that list in the nearest future. Yeah, and possibly the most thrilling slide on Federal Law 194, which makes amendment to the Criminal Investigation Code. So there is a new article which provides for criminal responsibility for up to 10 years for hackers, owners, operators, those who, and for that, if it would be proved that the owner failed to provide the necessary level of security, so this would be the reason for making you liable. So if an organization doesn't consider itself a subject or tries to dodge it just to save money and efforts, so the potential scenario is you have a major incident which led to serious consequences, damages. So somebody from the prosecutor's office comes on your side and an investigation starts. So if they understand that the damage has to do with the computer attack, and that the object attacked was potentially critical, then FSTEC would be invited for an expert opinion, and they would issue an expert opinion report. And then the prosecutor's office, together with their colleagues from FSB, would decide together what to do. Yeah, so it's quite possible that Article 274.1 would be applied. So, and in Federal Law 198 could be applied. So it was written that all cases related to Federal Law 183 in the scope of FSB, and they lose at the court quite seldom. Also, regarding the status, so FSB document related to Gossopcom, so 3 out of 7 orders were approved and are being registered in the Ministry of Justice. And to wrap up my last slide, if, dear colleagues, you would like to study this subject and to implement the requirements, so we have groups in Facebook and on Telegram, and a group on cybersecurity of SCADA, and SCADA security in Telegram. As Kirill mentioned, I have my own blog where I cover critical information infrastructure security. So please feel free to read my blog, and I hope you will find something useful for yourself. And in my conclusion, I would like to add that FSTEC would comment that together with their FSB colleagues, they understand that the law was just enacted, that there are like gray areas, and colleagues would say, so if you have doubt, please be reasonable and contact professionals. You can contact us, for instance. In a recent year, we accumulated some experience. Many thanks, colleagues. Thank you.